Our tale starts at the end of 18th century, when sea battles looked quite as follows. Ships would usually come to each other from the left or right side to a distance up to 30 meters and start shooting from their cannons. Sometimes they would even fire point blank. The rule was simple. The more cannons you have, the bigger chance of succeeding in confrontation. So every nation which wanted to mean something in the national arena started building larger and larger ships, with more and more cannons. One of the most famous of them is British first-class line ship, HMS Victory. Unfortunately, as we know from the history, nothing lasts forever. There will be always some inventions that can turn the way we perceive the world upside down, just in one moment. The same thing happened in the history of sea warfare. In 1822, a new type of cannon and cannonballs were invented, which now could penetrate the wooden side of an enemy ship and explode inside. Before, cannonballs exploded usually right after hitting the target, which is outside the ship, dealing only some damage to it. Now it was enough to fire 3 times to destroy and sink an enemy unit. As a consequence, the idea of building enormously big line ships absolutely lost any sense, since they could be easily destroyed with a one-cannon salvo. Here is when the idea of putting iron armor on ships finally came to reality. The whole idea was invented many years before, but then it was too problematic. People didn't know how to deal with corrosion. First, fully armored ships were built in France, 1860, and in Great Britain, 1862, HMS Warrior and HMS Black Prince. An interesting fact about them is although they all had fully operative steam engines, they also had classic sails. Those ships couldn't be penetrated with any cannon at that time. Soon after every meaningful fleet had their own ironclads, a strange situation happened during the Battle of Lissa in 1866, between Italy and the Austrian Empire. Both fleets had armored ships and they simply fired rounds after rounds at each other for several hours with no effect. Suddenly, Austrian commander came up with an idea to ram the enemy flagship, which he succeeded and won the battle. Since then, for a period of 10 years, every civilized nation stopped using their cannon and started ramming the enemy, just as it used to be many years ago. This madness could be stopped only by inventing a new type of ammunition, which could be able to penetrate the armor. That happened, and everybody came back to shooting at each other from a distance.